So we already pointed out, again, it's always from Hashem, it's never from anybody else. It's the basics you have to understand and believe. Hashem is always doing something good from it, always bringing something good out of it for a person, and what that is sometimes unfathomable, but here we'll get a little perspective of how a person can think of the suffering in a way that could give us the strength to go through it and realize Hashem is with us, and there's something to be gained from that experience, okay? Besides what Yechezkel already mentioned, which is obviously very, very profound and basic to it, which is the growth that you achieve through it. But there is an element of suffering, which is the suffering itself. Meaning everything has to be good. This is a profound idea. We'll just dip into this because that's really the perspective you need to appreciate this. Everything is good. So the suffering setting a stage, that's good. But what about every ounce I actually suffered? And it's like, for the end result was to grow. But each ounce that I suffered needs to be accountable for. Everything has to be good from Hashem. So each step has to be good. And some of that we won't even fathom ever. We'll touch a little bit on perspective that could help with a little bit of that. Okay, so we'll read the first piece here. Omar Chazal say, Yissurim Mimarkin kol avonosav shel adam. Suffering cleanses a person of all of their sins. By the way, the suffering is so beneficial in this way. The Gemara actually says, in Brachos, that whole story, one of the great rabbis there, did something slightly off, and he actually asked Hashem to send him horrible suffering to cleanse him, because your spiritual stain that comes with you into the world to come, it has a very, very negative effect on eternity and what you're able to access and how high you're able to reach. And therefore, for the great people who understand that vision of that eternity that's coming, and the closeness with Hashem, that they don't want any barrier between them, they understand that mistake I made is sitting there. I want to get rid of it. So he actually invited horrible suffering on himself to cleanse it, so that he could get into the next world and have a closeness with Hashem that is unhindered by that mistake. I won't even go into the graphic imagery there of the real suffering he embraced, because he realized how good it was. And the Gemara there has an unbelievable line, Chavivin Yissurim. How beloved, how precious is suffering. It's not a line that I think you should go home saying, but just sometimes you got to see what the people at the top, how they feel. So even though we're very small, and you're allowed to be small, and you're allowed to be human, and we struggle, but just to understand that there is a truth to that line, that somebody could say that somebody could actually ask for it, okay? Okay, yes. Oh, absolutely, yes. The neshama and right. Correct, because you're neshama. Because let's be clear, you are one entity. Your neshama right now is linked to your body, and right now there's only one you. So everything you go through your day is your neshama manifested through your physical body. Everything your physical body feels, your neshama feels. So you are, that suffering is an atonement of the soul. So together are your body and soul, that according to the Ramchal, when Mashiach comes, your soul has to get back together with your neshama to equal the one entity you are and bask in all of the reward you deserve. That's the Ramchal, meaning when you go up there, that's just waiting. And then when there'll be the Tchias HaMesim, so the resurrection of the dead, then they'll be united again. You'll be back to who you are, because this is the whole you. That's the Ramchal's opinion. What was it? The fact is, the physical suffering atones for the soul, and in fact, that is, in a certain sense, the greatness of the kindness, because physical suffering has a limit, whereas the spiritual suffering of the soul is unfathomably great, and yet Hashem will count And the Gemara says, even when you reach into your pocket and you pull out the wrong coin, that already counts. That little frustration, you were looking for a dime, you pulled out a nickel. Nobody knows what I'm talking about anymore because no one pulls out. When you're looking for your MasterCard and you pull out your Visa card, that's the more relatable. Your card stuck in the slur, get it out, your finger keeps slipping. Okay, whatever it is, the Gemara says even those teeny annoyances already count as part of the suffering. So you're getting a great deal. That's why the Bali Musa talk about one of the greatest things that could happen is embarrassment. Because embarrassment feels so painful, but actually nothing happened. So that's like a jackpot. In Navardik, they used to love to get busha, embarrassment. It's the best. You walk away, you're clean from all sins, because you literally felt like you died 1,000 deaths, but you're unharmed, right? You know, in a month you won't even remember it. They used to like that. Chesko.
But only works if you don't fight back.
Yeah, well, I don't say it doesn't work. I don't want to say that. It's not that it doesn't work if you don't fight back. The Gemara says if you don't answer back, your greatness is tremendous. If you don't answer back when somebody insults you. So there's a special greatness. The Gemara says you're like the sun blazing out in the middle of the day. That's how bright you are in Hashem's eyes. If you don't answer when somebody says something that embarrasses you, and all the great tzaddikim already say you have the ability to give blessings and they come true. So it's a big, big deal if you don't answer. But if you do answer, it's not that it erases the suffering you went through. Now, if you answer in a way that is horrible and incorrect, you may have gained from the suffering, but you are obviously, I'll leave the calculation to Hashem, but you're gaining, you're losing. But in general, we don't have a rule of canceling. Wrongs don't cancel out rights. Rights don't cancel out wrongs. Everything gets what it's supposed to get.
But what if you are accused of something that you didn't do?
So,
do you not answer to that?
Of course you should. Of course you should. Yeah. I meant if somebody's just getting to a fight and hurling insults, and you know that the right thing to do is just to not get angry and just walk away, but you of course want to, fight back. So yeah, of course, protecting your shame tov, your good name, that's for sure the correct thing to do, your reputation and everything like that. Okay, we're not getting very far, folks. We're getting far, but we're not getting far on the paper. Okay, so this chazal that says that suffering cleanses a person from their sins. And we also find this after death, that when a person's body decays in the grave, the reason Hashem does that is that there's a tremendous suffering that happens because you still feel what happens to your body in the grave. And the reason is your soul still feels it. And the reason is that that's part of the atonement that Hashem does. Great, very, very great righteous people have had their burial plot, I guess, uncovered for different reasons, exhumed for different reasons. They were going to move them or different reasons, and they were found whole. Shag Feivel Mendelovich was found whole. My own cousin Twerski, his great grandfather in Europe was a mass grave. All the Nazis killed the whole town, and his great grandfather was the Rebbe and Rav of that town. When they dug up the mass grave, it was a pile of bones and one whole body just sitting there. It looked like he had died that day. Yeah, they went in. They took out his papers that were in his pocket. Everything was there. His glasses. Twerski had the glasses. I said, let me put them on. I want to see the world through the lens of such a great person. Yeah. Great people don't. Why? Because they're righteous, they're pure, their body's uplifted. It doesn't need to go through that process. It's supernatural. I mean, it's open miracles that still happen nowadays. Great people. But the reason it happens to everyone else is to atone, to help them reach the next level by going through the suffering. So my grandfather is trying to say, how does Well, how does one connect to the other? This is quite a fascinating idea that he's going to say. V'yesh Shlomo, he says, I want to explain how it is that suffering expunges sin. What's the connection? Listen to this. It's very interesting. Ki metzias hara v'Yissurim ein davar echad. He says because actually, ra, badness or wrongness, and suffering are one thing. V'hara shel avoinosav mishapech liYissurim. And but let me pause for a second. He doesn't explain how they're one thing. I'm going to suggest, but it's just me. What does it mean to suggest? What is it? There's only two things in this world. Okay, this is the Ramchal is quite clear on in Derech Hashem. There's only two things in this world. Now there's everything's either an elephant or not an elephant. You could summarize the whole world, but actually the world is only two things. It's either Hashem showing His face, or Hashem hiding His face. All of reality comes from Hashem. There's just two ways that He allows reality to be created. Either it's a revelation, or He's hiding. He's always emanating something into reality, and it's either clearly Him, or He's hidden His face. How does evil exist in the world? How could you make a wrong choice? You, a person having the allowance to make a wrong choice, and the very fact that wrongness can exist in the world, is Hashem hiding His face. That's what He's doing. He is Hester Ponen. Gevura. Yeah, correct. That's a way to say it. Correct. Okay? So Hashem hiding His face. What is suffering? Also, badness, not wrongness, not bad in that way, but it's also wrongness or badness, negativity, existing in the world. Where does that come from? Also, Hashem hiding His face. So the very same element, you may say, which allows a person to do evil and allows sin to exist, is the same ingredient that allows pain to exist. So therefore, my grandfather says, the harash of mishapech liYissurim. A person has, unfortunately, this stain of sin on them. Hashem allows it to be transformed. Convert that hiddenness of my revelation that you created, and instead of it sitting on the soul like a stain, allow it to become manifest in suffering. Another form of my hiddenness in the world. And therefore, when you let now all of that hiddenness that you created through your sin play out as suffering, when the suffering ends and finishes completion, that's when all of the hiddenness of Hashem that you caused has now been manifest in the world and is done. You've lived through what you created and you've gotten rid of it. You get how that's playing out? It's a kind of fascinating idea. The nishar memela zach v'naki. So now the person ends up totally cleansed and pure. I created a certain hiddenness of Hashem. Instead of just schlepping it around like my own peckle, I just allowed it to exist. I sort of went through it, faced it, suffered the consequence of it already, and now it's gone. So now the person themselves is left elevated and cleansed, I should say. Elevated is if they do what Yecheskel said, because everything is always multifaceted, meaning it cleanses you, but then if you decide to do something with that experience, you actually become elevated, right? Ulechein kol pam shebo ala odam Yissurim, and therefore every time a person undergoes any sort of suffering, heaven forbid, harehu hoylech umis'aleh, he is moving and becoming more elevated, more pure. Ki ara shebo hoylech umismayit, because the evil or negative force in him is getting small with every amount of difficulty a person's experience. That is the bad that was on his neshama that is going out and getting used up. It's a very cool concept, right? So again, perspectives. Heaven forbid, nobody should ever suffer. Hashem should help us. There should be no suffering. But life has pain and suffering, and even teeny ones, and sometimes, unfortunately, bigger ones. To understand that what's happening is there's bad that we're saddled with that can unfortunately have terrible effects for us in the world to come, and Hashem is allowing it to be used up by becoming manifest as instead of a soul stain, let it be a problem in the world that you have to go through. And with that, we get it out of the way.